Welcome to Let's Talk Property, an informal podcast show all about the UK property and mortgage market. I'm Nizam, and as always, joining me is my co-host Lee. Whether you are a seasoned property investor just starting to think about buying your home, this podcast is for you. So we'll be discussing a range of topics, including the latest market trends, tips for finding the perfect property, and how to secure a mortgage deal. So join us as we explore the world of property and help you make informed decisions about your next property purchase. Today's topic, do you want to introduce this one, Lee?
Yes, so it should be a fairly short episode, and I know we always say that, but it should be a fairly short episode. I really wanted to focus on Cambridgeshire. So I know a lot of people that we help and who may be listening to this will be from the Cambridgeshire area, but this is really focused on around sort of property values in the Cambridgeshire area. So we're going as north as kind of Fenlands, all the way sort of north as sort of Wisbech, that sort of area, all the way down to a lovely little village called Linton, which is in near on the outskirts of Essex. So we're kind of covering a good scope, whole of Cambridgeshire. And I wanted to kind of just give some stats really in terms of what the property market is like, and the more specifically the values are like in the Cambridgeshire area. So hopefully people will find it useful.
Great stuff. Brilliant. When you said Linton, I'll tell you what popped into my head was Alan Partridge, because I think, isn't the hotel he lives at called the Linton Travel Lodge? Or did I make that up?
Oh, I'm not sure. Is it called Linton Travel Lodge?
I think it might be. I was thinking, is it the same place? But that's obviously Norfolk. It probably isn't. But no, this.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say that. Yeah, this will be a really good one. I think. Interested to see what a lot of people are obviously interested in the property market, whether they're moving or not. So, and obviously we're Cambridgeshire based in terms of where we live, so it's local to us. So, yeah, should we crack on?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to kind of add. Yeah, what do I know? So just to add, I think Cambridgeshire is a really strong property market, particularly in the sort of southeast of England. Doing my research and looking at some of the stats, it's a really good property market. In Cambridgeshire, it's fairly busy compared to most. I think it's one of the strongest. But what I wanted to cover is more specifically the areas within Cambridgeshire. Obviously, I have to caveat that this does include Cambridge as well, which is almost a property market on its own. Particularly sort of Cambridge and sort of slightly surrounding areas. It's in its own bubble, very similar to London in that respect. So I think I probably want to add that it's definitely in its own sort of area. But Cambridgeshire as a whole, so if we're looking at Cambridge, the average house price, so these statistics were taken earlier on in the year, so they're probably about 5 or 6 months in terms of statistics, but Cambridge has got the highest average house price in Cambridgeshire, as you can imagine. 528,000 is a average house price in Cambridge, wow. Specifically in Cambridge. So, and then we've got a real steep drop. So we're looking at then East Cambridgeshire, which is then 342. But we've got South Cambridgeshire, which I think that's kind of, where we're looking at bordering Essex, that sort of area. It's 459. So 459, the second highest in Cambridgeshire is South Cambridgeshire. And then we've got Huntingdonshire. So we've got Huntingdonshire. The average house price is 322. And then we've got Peterborough, which is a property market in its own as well. So 250,000, so another steep drop from where we're going outskirts of Huntingdonshire, and then we've got South Cambridgeshire, so another steep drop. And then we've got Fenlands, which is 240, so up north of Cambridgeshire. So I think what's quite clear to me, apart from Cambridge, if you take Cambridge out the picture, as you go from south to north of Cambridgeshire, property values do drop quite significantly. I think what I wanted to put across is, if you're thinking about buying in Cambridgeshire, and the biggest challenge at the minute for first-time buyers in particular and home movers is property value. So it could get you thinking about maybe a location. And it looks to me, the further north you go, apart from Cambridge itself, the further north you go, the lower the house price.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, like you said, no surprise with the Cambridge effect. That's what they call it, isn't it? The sort of bubble around Cambridge with the house prices, and very similar to London. But I always find it really interesting, that sort of bit between Cambridge and London, in that it's kind of, like you said, South Cambridgeshire is, I would have thought, you're getting closer to London. Everyone's always thinking, no, you're closer to London, therefore it's going to go up. But actually, you're further away from Cambridge. So actually, you see a drop because you're away from Cambridge, but you're not quite close enough to be that and the outskirts of London, I guess. You're sort of bordering Hertfordshire, Essex, like you said, and prices aren't cheap, are they? But they drop, which is interesting, I find.
And I'll be honest, I've learned a bit in geography today, because there's not much between Cambridge, the south of Cambridge, below Cambridge is not big. We've got the little village of Linton, which has been picked out on the statistics. There's not a great deal there, it's sort of south of Cambridge, which is below Cambridge. There's not a great deal there, but like you say, property values do take a little bit of a drop, from Cambridge to south of Cambridge. The difference is about 70,000, taking the average statistics, which
that's a lot,
quite a bit, isn't it? It's quite a bit. Looking at 460 and 530 for Cambridge. It's quite a big drop. So actually, if you're listening to this and you are sort of near the Cambridge area, or and you want to live in Cambridge, actually, it could be that you might want to consider maybe slightly south of Cambridge or north. North is cheaper as well, but yeah.
It's probably also, thinking about it, it's probably also because of the type of properties that are being sold in Cambridge. So what you might find is you have more, not necessarily just you get more for your money outside of Cambridge, but the houses in Cambridge are higher value houses anyway. They're bigger houses. They're, older type period sort of houses. So I wonder as well whether, I don't know Linton very well, other than that's where Alan Partridge, has his hotel. But I don't know, whether Linton might be newer build houses, or they might just be lots of semi-detached houses, and therefore, you haven't got quite as grander. And I don't know Linton, I'm sure it's a lovely place, but again, that's probably also worth keeping in mind. It may not just be you get more for your money here, may just be the type of properties are more expensive because they're bigger or they're more characteristic or whatever in those older cities.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's some lovely little villages, and obviously Cambridge itself is a lovely place. So I think that that comes with a cost. Absolutely. I think one thing I just wanted to sort of add as well, and what I've learned is, Cambridgeshire in particular, there are so many plans to build properties. I don't want to jump into statistics because we'll be here all day in terms of particularly properties in Cambridge itself and just outside. So Camborne area, there's lots of new build developments because we've done quite a few that way as well. And Peterborough itself and Huntingdonshire, there's huge amounts of plans for properties going up and developments. So I think, Cambridgeshire as a whole is quite promising, area to live in. And I think there are big plans. And we know from living in Peterborough, there's so many new build properties being built. So there's certainly cities that are developing really well. Certainly a good area to live in, I think.
And that's a great point, isn't it? If you're either looking at buying for the first time or moving or upsizing or whatever, then actually this is a really good part of the country to be in to do that, because the stock is there and hopefully developers are continuing to build, and that gives more movement. People are moving out of older properties, that opens those up. So I think hopefully remains a buoyant market. One thing I did notice when you're talking, I might be wrong here, but the average property price in Cambridge is pretty much almost exactly double what the UK average property value is. Is that right?
Very close to, yeah, absolutely. I think the UK average is sort of 270, is it? I think 260,
270,
something like that.
So 260, 265 in my head.
Yeah,
so that's not far off then.
No, you're absolutely right. It's nearly double. Yeah, nearly double. If you want to live in banging Cambridge, 528 is nearly double the average house price. That's a good point. Yeah, that is a really good point.
With interest rates on the mortgage side being higher now, that's going to have an even bigger impact. So it's a costly place to live if you don't already own a property there. Council tax, I imagine, is not too cheap. So things like that, I guess, it shows you that the difference in the disparity between house prices in such a condensed area as well, because we're both from Peterborough, so obviously we know how easy it is to get to Cambridge, in now even easier now they've done the road, so it's sort of half an hour and you're in Cambridge really, but you're getting a much better deal for getting more for your money, I should say. on a property value. So, and you've got in Peterborough, you've also got transport links to London, probably just as quick from Cambridge, if not quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There's some strong links, and Cambridge isn't far from Peterborough and surrounding areas. So, and if you wanted to go even further afield at Fenland, you get even more for your money. So,
absolutely,
if you want to go that far. So, I think having a look, I've just had a look at some of the forecasts, and obviously these are predictions. They're not my predictions. They are predictions that we've found from some credible sources online. Cambridge News being one of them, and it is predicted that the Cambridgeshire property market is going to stay quite strong, and it's predicted that property values will increase by up to 10% as a minimum in the next 3 years. So by 2026, they reckon the Cambridgeshire market as a whole will increase. Now, this prediction was made in the summer of 2023, just to add. So, the market's been up and down a lot since that period as well, and probably in the midst. But it's probably a fair prediction at the moment. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but the only sort of area in Cambridgeshire that's actually predicted to that much struggle is Fenland in terms of property value. So it's actually, out of all the areas in Cambridgeshire, it is the sort of the far north of Cambridgeshire that is predicted to kind of hold steady in value or kind of potentially drop. So if you are a first-time buyer, and listening to this, and you're thinking about buying in the Cambridgeshire area, just be mindful of that. Be mindful of that Cambridgeshire property market and the property values could increase further. I know we're in a turbulent time in the market, and I think it is predicted that in most cases that house prices will come down, and that's, I don't want to jump into that, but Cambridgeshire property market is quite strong. So it's worth being mindful of that if you're thinking about buying in Cambridgeshire.
Definitely. Absolutely. There was something I was going to add on this when we were talking about. So very recently, Lloyds Bank came out and made a prediction that they believe the property market is going to drop by 10% over the next 18 months to 2 years. And I assume, I don't know the details and the ins and outs of it. One, it's a projection and a prediction. So who's to say whether that's going to happen or not? They're not. In fact, they're probably more often wrong than not, I'd say, with property predictions, because we've been looking at them over the last, certainly since COVID, and I would say almost always they are not accurate and they have to reforecast. But that is in a complete contrast to what they're saying. And also, it just also highlights the fact that actually it's regional based, it's local based property markets. There isn't, I don't think, one big property market in the UK. There are lots of different smaller property markets that kind of make the UK property market, and they all work differently. You've got some that are in sellers markets, some are in buyers markets, some are seeing house prices drop, others are seeing house prices go up. And it's really, really dependent on where you are looking. So really interesting to hear, actually, southeast of England and Cambridgeshire and that sort of, this part of the UK is projected to be quite strong, and a 10% increase, that's that's 20% higher prices than Lloyds are predicting. And even if it's 5% increase or no movement, that is still better than what is being predicted across the whole of the UK. So I think that's a positive sign for us selfishly, locally. And like you said, anyone that is looking to buy locally in the east of England or Cambridgeshire, Peterborough, and they're waiting for house prices to drop before they make the move, you're absolutely right, Lee. I think that might come back to bite you if that doesn't happen here.
Yeah, absolutely. And to add, the property value that particularly increase, it's got Cambridge in there, but Cambridge is way above 10%. Predicted 14.1% in the next few years. So I know Cambridge is its own bubble, but that obviously has an effect on Cambridgeshire. Cambridge market has an effect on the Cambridgeshire market because people move out of Cambridge, which then could then impact. There's a snowball effect there, which you can, which can happen. So it's something to be mindful of. As you say, if you see in the news property values predicted to drop, and as you quite mentioned with the Lloyds, it might not necessarily mean where you're looking, particularly in Cambridgeshire or just outside Cambridge. It could be a completely different story. So really, really interesting. So hopefully that's been helpful to people looking in Cambridgeshire area.
Yeah, I've definitely learnt a lot there. So thanks for doing all that research for us. That's really helpful, and it gives me a little bit of positivity in terms of the market in our area going forward. So yeah, I think that's really good.
Yeah, I think I forgot to add as well. It's also good for homeowners. You know, if you own a home in Cambridgeshire, it's and it's quite a strong. Reading the stats compared to most areas in the country, it's quite a strong market. So good news for people who own properties as well. It might mean that your value might stay strong, or it's not always a guarantee, but it's a good sign. It's a good sign. Yeah,
absolutely. Brilliant,
cool,
fantastic, cool. Thanks for that, Lee. I think we're ready to wrap up.
Cool. Thank you for joining us for an episode of Let's Talk Property. We hope you found the discussion of the UK property market informative and helpful. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, feel free to send us a message. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and follow us on social media for updates on future episodes. Until next time, should I say, we'll see you in the property market.
We'll see you in the Cambridgeshire property market.
Hey.